Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most fascinating systems in your brain, the Mesolimbic system. Whether it's the rush from a big win, the pleasure of eating your favorite food, or even the grip of addiction, it all ties back to this brain circuit. Let's break it down. How it works, how it relates to dopamine and serotonin, and even how your genes might be influencing your brain's reward center. The mesolimbic system is a core part of your brain's reward pathway. Basically, it's responsible for making you feel good when something positive happens. Think of it as your brain's motivation circuit. Whenever you do something rewarding like eating, socializing, or achieving a goal, your brain releases a chemical called dopamine. But there's more to it than that. The mesolimbic system also controls things like motivation, reinforcement learning, and even addiction. Let's break it down into the major parts of the mesolimbic system. The ventral tegmental area, or the VTA, this is where dopamine is made. The nucleus accumbens is the pleasure center where dopamine does its magic, making you feel rewarded. The prefrontal cortex is involved in decision-making, impulse control, and weighing long-term goals against short-term rewards. And the amygdala and hippocampus are the emotional and memory systems, making sure you remember what made you feel good so you want to do it again. So when something rewarding happens, dopamine gets released from the VTA, which travels to the nucleus accumbens, and you feel a surge of pleasure. This dopamine activity helps your brain reinforce the behavior so you're motivated to do it again. Now let's talk about how the system works through dopaminergic pathways, specifically the mesolimbic dopamine pathway. This is where dopamine travels to make you feel rewarded, but the mesolimbic system isn't just about feeling good, it's also about how your brain learns and what's rewarding and motivates you to seek it out. And here's where things get complicated. Addiction can hijack the system. Substances like nicotine, opioids, and cocaine cause massive surges of dopamine. This overwhelms the system, making natural rewards like food or relationships feel less rewarding in comparison. And over time, your brain starts to crave the drug to feel normal, and that's a big part of how addiction works. Now let's switch gears to serotonin, another key neurotransmitter. The mesolimbic system isn't just about dopamine. Serotonin also plays a role, acting like a brake for dopamine. While dopamine says, "This feels good, do it again," serotonin can help control that urge and regulate mood. Serotonin helps your brain from over-focusing on immediate rewards and helps balance your mood. In fact, low serotonin levels are linked to depression or the ability to experience pleasure, what we call anhedonia. So how do dopamine and serotonin interact? Well, serotonin can regulate dopamine levels in the ventral tegmental area, and nucleus accumbens keeping dopamine in check to avoid overstimulation. This balance is critical in preventing impulsive behaviors and keeping us from constantly chasing rewards. This relationship explains why antidepressants like SSRIs, which increase serotonin levels, may also help restore and balance the brain's reward system, helping those with depression feel pleasure again. Now let's talk about how genes influence your brain's reward system. Some people are naturally more sensitive to rewards or more prone to addiction because of their genetic makeup. And let's break that down into two key genes involved. First, we have the DRD2, the gene for dopamine receptors. Variations in this gene can make some people more prone to addiction by reducing the number of dopamine receptors. This means they need more stimulation to feel rewarded. Then we have the 5-HTTLPR, the serotonin transporter gene. Certain variants of this gene can affect serotonin reuptake, making individuals more vulnerable to stress, anxiety, or depression. These genetic variations can make a huge difference in how someone responds to rewards, stress, and the risk of developing addiction or mental health disorders. It's not just your genes. Epigenetic changes, basically how your environment affects gene expression, is also a big part of this. Trauma, stress, or substance use can change how genes are expressed in the mesolimbic system, increasing the risk of mental health issues or addiction. Understanding how genes and environment interact helps us better understand why some people are more vulnerable to addiction or mood disorders than others. When this system gets dysregulated, we can see a range of mental health disorders. For example, overactivity of dopamine in the mesolimbic system is linked to schizophrenia, where it may cause hallucinations and delusions. On the flip side, underactivity is often seen in depression, where the brain struggles to feel pleasure. So the mesolimbic system isn't just about feeling good, it's about motivation, learning, and behavior. And when it gets out of balance, it can lead to serious issues like addiction or mental health disorders. But understanding it better, including the roles of dopamine, serotonin, and our genes, gives us valuable insight into how our brains work and what we can do to protect our mental health. If you enjoyed learning about the mesolimbic system, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button.